Well, it is confusing, and so when you look at HIPAA, HIPAA is a small acronym, but yet it encompasses a lot, and so it goes back. It has its roots in the mid-'90s when it was first passed as legislation, and it was mostly about portability of healthcare and healthcare coverage at that time. But in 2003, HHS added regulations to expand upon the legislation, and they added the privacy rule, which talked about how you need to protect the information that's collected when you're working with patients. And then a couple of years later, in 2005, they added the security rule, and it just really went unnoticed. But really, what it's about is because technology is being used more and more by medical practices and the healthcare industry in general, there's a lot of information being gathered on patients in electronic form, and there was no standardized way to go about to ensure that data would be protected. And as the internet became more widely adopted among practices, the risks to that data became much greater. And so HHS felt it was in the best interest of all to lay out some standards to say at least these things will be in place, and we'll know that everyone who's housing EPHI has certain measures in place to protect that data.
And what's interesting about the security rule too is that it's not a checklist, and that's what everybody looks for. They want to know, am I secure? Check, 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 and I'm done, and I've met the requirements of the security rule, and that doesn't exist. Really, the security rule is a framework that spells out how you would go about doing this. So rather than explaining that you need a really good firewall, it just says you need to protect your data from intrusion from the outside. How you go about doing that is really up to you. You have to do it, but you have to also document it and things like that. And I've often said that if you were to ask me from the IT perspective to design a perfect security framework for you to be able to use, it would look a lot like the security rule. It's not really extraneous if you're really trying to secure your data, and that's a big thing that a lot of people think that it's just a lot of overkill. And it's really not. I mean, it's a lot of work, and there's a lot to it. But if you really are serious about securing your data, it's what you need to do.